Daniel stared at the blank page, his pen hovering just above the surface, as memories of his childhood flooded back like a deluge. The scent of rain-soaked earth, the laughter shared in the fading light of summer evenings, and the unbreakable bond he once shared with his younger brother, Michael, all swirled in his mind. Daniel was a man of success now, with a life filled with luxury, but none of it mattered against the backdrop of the guilt that gnawed at him. He had left their small town, chasing dreams that now felt hollow and empty, while Michael had stayed behind, weathering storms alone. The thought pierced him like a dagger. He had promised to support Michael, but instead had vanished from his life. Before we delve deeper into Daniel's journey of redemption, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything to us and is the only way stories like this, filled with love, family, and the complexities of forgiveness, can reach more people. It truly helps us continue sharing these heartfelt narratives, so please subscribe now. With a sigh, Daniel finally set the pen to the paper, ink flowing as he poured out his heart in a letter that would change everything. He wrote about his regrets, his longing for connection, and the emotional weight of the years spent apart. Each word felt like an attempt to bridge the chasm that had grown between them, each line imbued with a hope he hadn't felt in years. He spoke of the dreams he had chased and the emptiness they left behind, the soft whispers of his conscience urging him to reach out, to make amends. Time had transformed Daniel into a successful businessman, but it had also minted a stranger from the boy who had once promised to always be there for Michael. The bustling city, with its bright lights and frenetic pace, had pulled him far away from their shared childhood. He had exchanged the simplicity of their rural life for the complexities of corporate deals and high-stakes negotiations. Yet, amidst the clamor of his achievements, an ache remained, an incessant reminder of the brother he had left behind, of the promises he had broken. As the words flowed, Daniel's heart raced with anticipation and fear. What if Michael had moved on? What if their bond, once so strong, was now a mere ghost haunting the hallways of their past? The letter transformed into a lifeline, a desperate call for forgiveness that he hoped would resonate with the brother who had been his anchor during their turbulent upbringing. When the ink dried, Daniel sealed the envelope, his hands trembling slightly. He could almost feel the weight of the years pressing down on his shoulders. He had crafted a message of hope, but now it was time to release it into the world, to relinquish control and face whatever response awaited him. Days turned into weeks as Daniel anxiously awaited a reply. Each day felt longer than the last, filled with a lingering sense of dread. Would Michael even remember him? Would he be angry, resentful of the years lost? The city's noise around him faded into a dull roar, overshadowed by the cacophony of his thoughts. Finally, the day arrived when a familiar handwriting graced the envelope that was delivered to his doorstep. It took a moment for the realization to sink in. Michael had written back. With trembling hands, Daniel tore open the envelope, his heart racing. The words danced before his eyes, each line an emotional thread pulling him back to their shared history, to the bond he had thought lost. Michael's letter was a mixture of warmth and hesitance. He spoke of the years that had passed, of life in their small town, and of the loneliness that had accompanied his brother's absence. Yet, amidst the sadness, there was an invitation, a chance for them to reconnect, to revisit the ghosts of their past, and find common ground once more. As Daniel read, the walls he had built around his heart began to crumble. He could feel Michael's longing, his hurt, but also his willingness to forgive. The weight of their shared history pressed down on them both. Yet within the lines of that letter lay a glimmer of hope. It was a call to return to the place where everything began, to the town that held their shared memories, and to the boy who had once looked up to him as a hero. The journey back home was filled with trepidation. Daniel found himself reflecting on the choices he had made, the paths he had taken that had led him to this moment. The familiar sights of his childhood town stirred a whirlwind of emotions within him. Nostalgia, regret, and a yearning for reconciliation. He parked his car in front of the modest house they had once shared and took a deep breath, steeling himself for the reunion that was about to unfold. When Michael opened the door, time seemed to stand still. The years melted away as they locked eyes, and for a moment, the world around them faded. Daniel saw the boy he had left behind, now a man who had weathered storms and emerged resilient. Michael's expression was a mix of surprise and caution, reflecting the complex tapestry of emotions that had woven their lives apart. Daniel. Michael's voice came out as a whisper, a blend of disbelief and vulnerability. Those two syllables held the weight of their shared past, the laughter, the fights, the moments of brotherhood that had defined their relationship. "Hey, Michael," Daniel replied, his voice thick with emotion. The gap that had stretched between them for 2 decades felt both insurmountable and fragile, like a bridge that had the potential to reconnect them if only they could find the courage to step onto it. In that moment, Daniel realized that they were not just two brothers meeting after years of separation. They were two souls seeking redemption in the echoes of their shared history. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with unspoken words and memories that lingered in the air between them. It was a silence that held the promise of healing, of understanding, and ultimately, of forgiveness. As they stepped inside, the walls of the house seemed to pulse with the memories of their childhood. Daniel could almost hear the laughter that had once filled these rooms, the echoes of their dreams and aspirations. They settled into the living room, a place that had witnessed countless moments of joy and pain. The air was thick with anticipation, each man grappling with the whirlwind of emotions that had brought them back together. As they spoke, the layers of resentment and misunderstanding began to peel away, revealing the raw vulnerability beneath. Daniel shared his journey, the highs and lows of his life in the city, while Michael recounted the struggles he faced alone, the nights filled with uncertainty and longing for his brother's presence. It was a conversation that felt like a dance, careful, tentative, yet filled with a rhythm that spoke of the bond they were slowly reclaiming. Through shared laughter and painful confessions, Daniel found solace in Michael's understanding. He realized that while he had built a life of comfort, he had sacrificed the very connection that had once given his life meaning. Michael, in turn, discovered the silent battles Daniel had fought, the sacrifices made in the name of love that had gone unrecognized. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow through the window, the brothers began to find common ground in their stories. The weight of their past was still there, but now it felt lighter, as if shared burdens had the power to transform pain into understanding. In the flickering light of the evening, they forged a new narrative together, one of hope, resilience, and the promise of family rediscovered. In the heart of that small town, amidst the ghosts of their childhood, Daniel and Michael began a journey of redemption that would reshape their lives forever. The path ahead was uncertain, but together, they were ready to navigate the complexities of forgiveness and healing, each step a testament to the enduring bond of brotherhood. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow through the window, the brothers began to find common ground in their stories. The weight of their past was still there, but now it felt lighter, as if shared burdens had the power to transform pain into understanding. In the flickering light of the evening, they forged a new narrative together, one of hope, resilience, and the promise of family rediscovered. Daniel leaned back in his chair, absorbing the atmosphere of their reunion. The familiarity of the room enveloped him like a warm embrace, reminding him of the innocence of their childhood, the dreams they had nurtured together. "You know," he began, his voice steady yet laden with emotion, "when I left, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I could provide for you, that I could create a better life for both of us. But I never realized how much I'd be losing in the process." Michael's gaze locked onto Daniel's, a mixture of understanding and pain reflecting in his eyes. "I spent years trying to make sense of your absence. At first, I held on to the belief that you'd come back, that you were out there fighting for us, for our dreams. But as the years went by, I learned to survive without you. I had to." His voice trembled slightly, the weight of those years surfacing with every word. "It felt like you chose the city over me." Daniel's heart sank at the truth in Michael's words. He had been so consumed by his ambitions that he had failed to see the ramifications of his choices. "I know it must have felt like that," he said, his voice cracking. "But every day, I wished I could turn back time. I thought about you constantly, and I felt this growing emptiness. I chased success, but all I really wanted was to reconnect with you." A silence settled between them, filled with unspoken emotions. Michael, his brow furrowed in thought, took a moment to process his brother's confession. "It's hard for me to understand how you could leave and not come back. Did you forget about me? Did you forget where you came from?" His question pierced through the air, heavy with hurt. Daniel shook his head vehemently, desperate to convey his sincerity. "No, I never forgot. I felt trapped in my own life choices. Every time I looked at the success I had achieved, I was reminded of you and the life we shared. I was ashamed, Michael, ashamed that I had left you behind to grapple with everything alone." The tension in the room began to shift, morphing into something more profound, a mutual recognition of the pain they both carried. Michael's expression softened slightly, revealing the flicker of understanding that had been buried beneath years of resentment. "I didn't want to resent you," he said quietly, "but it was hard not to feel abandoned. I was just a kid trying to find my way in a world that didn't feel welcoming." Daniel felt his throat tighten as he reflected on the hardships Michael must have faced alone. "I should have reached out. I should have written you more letters, made more phone calls. I should have been there. I'm so sorry for everything." The sincerity in his voice echoed deep within him, a plea for forgiveness that he hoped would resonate with Michael. As the evening wore on, they began to share the intimate details of their lives, the laughter that had marked their childhood, the dreams that had been birthed in the shade of their old oak tree, and the painful moments that had tested their resilience. Daniel recalled the time they had built a makeshift fort in the backyard, laughing and pretending to be explorers on a grand adventure. Michael countered with the tale of how he had once tried to follow in Daniel's footsteps, joining the basketball team only to realize he was better suited for the arts. With each story, they peeled back the layers of their lives, revealing vulnerabilities that had long been buried under the weight of expectations. They began to understand that despite the years apart, the essence of who they were remained intertwined. The brothers exchanged stories of love and loss, of moments that had shaped them into the men they had become. When Daniel spoke of his struggles in the city, he didn't just focus on the triumphs, but also the loneliness that accompanied his success. "I had everything I thought I wanted, but I felt like a ghost wandering through it all," he revealed. "I realized I was measuring my worth by my bank account, not by the relationships I cherished. I had friends, but they were never like the bond we shared. I missed that so much." Michael nodded, his heart aching with empathy. "I often wondered what kind of life you were living. Did you find happiness? Did you ever think about coming back?" His question lingered in the air, heavy with the weight of hope and uncertainty. Taking a deep breath, Daniel acknowledged the truth. "I did think about it every day, but I was afraid that you wouldn't want to see me again, that you had moved on, that I was a ghost in your life. But now, sitting here with you, I realize how foolish that fear was." The honesty in Daniel's voice seemed to create a bridge, slowly mending the rift that had formed between them. Michael's expression softened further, the tension easing as he leaned forward. "I missed you, Daniel, more than I can express. I just wanted my brother back." With those simple words, the final barriers began to dissolve. Daniel felt a rush of warmth, as if the years of separation were finally beginning to evaporate. "I want to be back too," he said, his voice steady. "I want to make up for lost time, to be the brother you deserve." Michael's eyes glistened with unshed tears, emotions bubbling to the surface. "Then let's do it. Let's start over. This time, let's promise to be there for each other, no matter the distance." The sincerity of Michael's words resonated deeply within Daniel. They had both been shaped by their experiences, but now they had the chance to redefine their future. "I promise," he replied, his voice filled with determination. "From this day forward, I'll make sure you know you are never alone." As the evening wore on, they began to make plans for the days ahead, small steps that held the promise of healing. They discussed family, dreams they still wished to chase, and the importance of being present in each other's lives. Daniel felt a sense of hope blooming within him, a spark that had been dormant for far too long. In that cozy living room, they were not just brothers reconnecting. They were allies, ready to face the future together as they navigated the complexities of their relationship. Daniel realized that the journey of redemption would not only be about forgiveness, but also about rebuilding the trust that had been lost over the years. As they shared stories late into the night, the darkness outside seemed to fade, replaced by the warmth of their renewed bond. Each laugh, each shared memory, solidified their commitment to one another, inching them closer to the healing they both desperately sought. Time had taken its toll on their relationship, but in this moment, they understood that it had also gifted them the opportunity for redemption, a chance to reclaim the love that had once defined them. The path ahead would be filled with challenges, but together, they were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, united by the unbreakable bond of brotherhood. If this story is touching your heart, make sure to comment from where you are hearing this amazing story. Your thoughts mean the world and help us continue sharing these heartfelt narratives that explore love, family, and the beauty of forgiveness. As dawn broke on their first day of reconciliation, Daniel awoke to the sound of birds chirping outside the window, a gentle reminder of the new beginning that lay ahead. The sunlight streamed through the curtains, illuminating the room in a soft glow. He felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in years. The weight of guilt began to lift, replaced by the warmth of hope and connection. "Good morning," Michael said, entering the room with a steaming cup of coffee in hand. The smile on his face was infectious, and in that moment, Daniel realized how much he had missed the simplicity of these everyday interactions. They settled at the kitchen table, sharing breakfast and laughter, the atmosphere light, yet filled with the unspoken promise of deeper conversations to come. "Can you believe it's been 2 decades?" Michael asked, taking a sip of his coffee. "Sometimes it feels like a lifetime, and other times like just yesterday." Daniel nodded, reflecting on the years that had slipped through their fingers. "It's surreal, but I'm grateful for this chance to reconnect. I want to hear everything about your life, your dreams, what you've been up to." Michael's eyes brightened at the prospect. "Well, there's a lot to unpack. I've been working at the local community center, trying to make a difference in the lives of kids who come from backgrounds like ours. I guess I wanted to give back, to be the kind of role model I wished I'd had when you left." The pride that swelled in Daniel's chest was overwhelming. He had always known Michael had a big heart, but hearing about his efforts to uplift others filled him with admiration. "That's incredible, Michael. I knew you had it in you. You've always been passionate about helping others." A hint of embarrassment crossed Michael's face. "I just try to do my part. Sometimes it feels like I'm not doing enough, but I want to make sure no one feels as alone as I did." Daniel reached across the table, placing a hand on Michael's arm. "You're doing enough. You're making a real difference, and I'm proud of you." The warmth of that simple compliment enveloped Michael, and a smile broke through the shadows of the past. "Thanks, Daniel. That means a lot coming from you." As they continued to talk, Michael shared stories of the kids he worked with, the challenges they faced, and the small victories that made it all worthwhile. Each tale painted a picture of resilience, echoing the struggles they had both endured in their youth. Daniel listened intently, feeling a renewed connection to the brother he once thought he'd lost forever. After breakfast, Daniel felt a surge of energy and proposed an idea. "Let's visit some of our old haunts. I want to see the places that shaped us, where we spent our summers, where we dreamed big despite our circumstances." Michael's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I'd love that. There's so much history here. It'll be like walking down memory lane." They set out, driving through the familiar streets. Each corner unveiled a wave of nostalgia. The park where they had played countless games of tag, the old diner that had served the best milkshakes, and the school where they had shared their hopes and fears. With each stop, they exchanged stories, laughed, and even shared a few tears, reliving the moments that had stitched their lives together. At the park, Daniel pointed to a tall oak tree. "Remember when we built that fort right there?" Of course. We thought we were the kings of the world, Michael chuckled. We spent hours up there, plotting our escape from everything. Yeah, and then Mom would come looking for us, and we'd have to climb down before she saw us, Daniel added, laughter bubbling between them. As they stood beneath the tree, a sense of closure enveloped them. They had both been young dreamers once, filled with aspirations and the unshakable belief that they could conquer anything together. I often think about how much we wanted to explore the world, Michael mused, looking up at the sprawling branches. We had so many plans. We can still make plans, Daniel replied, a newfound determination in his voice. Let's not let the years slip away again. We have a second chance. Michael turned to him, his expression serious yet hopeful. I'd like that. We can be there for each other this time. No more letting fear or distance come between us. With those words exchanged, they carved a new pact, one rooted in intention and commitment. Their journey of rediscovery was just beginning, and they were both ready to embrace the future together. As the sun began to set, casting a warm, golden hue across the landscape, Daniel and Michael made their way back to the house. The conversations they shared continued to deepen their bond, each word a stepping stone toward healing the wounds of their past. That evening, as they sat on the porch watching the stars twinkle above, Daniel shared his dreams for the future. I want to start a foundation, something to help kids like us who need support and guidance. I've seen how much impact we can make, and I want to do it with you. Michael's eyes widened in surprise. That sounds amazing. We can combine our stories and experiences to help others. We can show them they're not alone. The prospect of creating something meaningful together ignited a fire within them both. They began to sketch out ideas, envisioning programs that would empower youth, foster community, and provide the kind of support they had both desperately needed. As plans took shape, Daniel felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. He had not only reconnected with his brother, but he had also rediscovered a purpose that had eluded him for so long. Days turned into weeks, and the brothers worked tirelessly to bring their vision to life. They reached out to local businesses, rallied community support, and began laying the groundwork for their foundation. Each small victory brought them closer, solidifying their commitment to one another and the mission they had set out to accomplish. Through their work, Daniel and Michael found healing in the service of others. They shared their story with the community, hoping to inspire those who felt lost, just as they had once felt. The foundation became a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of resilience and the strength of brotherhood. As they stood together at the foundation's opening ceremony, surrounded by friends, family, and community members, Daniel looked at Michael, his heart swelling with pride. We did this together. I couldn't have asked for a better partner. Michael grinned, his eyes shining with emotion. I never thought we'd end up here, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. In that moment, they understood that the journey of redemption was not just about mending their own relationship. It was about creating a legacy that would impact countless lives. They had transformed their pain into purpose, turning the scars of their past into a powerful force for good. As the crowd erupted in applause, Daniel and Michael stood side by side, united not only as brothers, but as champions for a brighter future. They knew that the road ahead would still hold challenges, but together, they were ready to face whatever came their way. Hand in hand, they stepped into the light of a new dawn, embracing the possibilities that lay ahead. Two brothers, once separated by time and circumstance, now forever intertwined in a story of redemption, hope, and love.